let's talk about some of these hormones, like T3 and T4, and where does most of this conversion happen in the body? Because everyone thinks it's the thyroid, and maybe you can kind of enlighten us maybe where most of this is happening.
Broda Barnes was one of the first people to notice the importance of the liver in thyroid function. The Biskins in 1942 to 45 were showing how the liver regulates hormones, but they were concentrating on estrogen. If the liver was lacking thyroid or protein or some vitamins, the Biskins showed that your estrogen would skyrocket in proportion to the reduced function of the liver. And there's this antagonism focused on the liver between estrogen and thyroid. And the thyroid works partly by increasing protein synthesis, but partly by simply energizing the liver so that it is able to detoxify everything that shouldn't be in the body. The liver should remove 100% of the estrogen that reaches it in circulation. So the body should be able to produce estrogen in the ovary, for example, send it to do its work in the uterus and breast and so on, but then it should immediately be destroyed by the liver. And if your thyroid is low, the liver loses the ability to detoxify estrogen and practically everything else harmful. And the liver happens to also be the source, as Broda Barnes discovered, of the most active thyroid. He said it's about 2/3 of the thyroid used by the body is produced in the liver. And if your liver isn't getting enough sugar, enough glucose, or if it doesn't have enough selenium, it is unable to convert thyroxine into T3. If you can completely knock out the liver, and your thyroid will excrete about this ratio of 3 parts of thyroxine to 1 part of T3. And so as long as your thyroid is working, your liver will be getting a little bit of T3 and will be able to keep functioning, other things being equal. But if you're under stress, for example, don't have anything to eat for about 24 hours, or are exerting too much energy in proportion to what you're eating, your liver isn't getting enough glucose to convert the 3 parts of thyroxine produced in your gland into the active T3. And so you will have this drastic decrease in production of the active triiodothyronine, T3, most of which comes from the liver when it's well fed with sugar.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
If the doctor prescribes only T4, it'll work fine in anyone who doesn't need it, such as 25-year-old healthy men. But women, because of their higher estrogen level, have many times the incidence of thyroid problems and liver problems that men do. And it's because of the centrality of the liver to the activation of thyroid hormone, and the liver's essentiality for eliminating estrogen, that a little problem with either thyroid or estrogen means that your liver will allow estrogen to increase in the body as it decreases its production of active thyroid hormone, and that in turn slows the liver even more, so it it has a vicious circle.
Whew. Did everyone get all that? Good stuff. So what you're saying is we need selenium to convert T4 to T3. I'm just kind of summarizing it for myself and for the listeners so everyone can kind of follow along here. And selenium, I think we need to ask the question, which we'll get to, is where do we get that from besides, what foods? We need glucose to make the conversion, and we should talk about that because I think that's huge in our society. When it comes to foods, we should say the right vegetables and things like that. Most people are staying away from the right types of sugars, which could be creating this, and that's probably going to be a whole show in itself. But at the same time, from maybe exogenous sources or the body's inability to detox it, blood sugar issues, excess stress, but the estrogen itself will block the T4 to T3 conversion as well. But also, I don't want to use the word clog up, but back up the liver. And it'll just keep backing up the liver, which can create the hypothyroid-like symptoms.
And once that happens, the estrogen can reach the point at which it starts inhibiting the thyroid gland itself. The thyroid gland to produce the proper ratio of 3 parts T4 to 1 part of T3, right. It does that by breaking down the thyroglobulin, a colloidal kind of a glob of protein inside the follicles of the gland. This has to be digested as needed, breaking each protein molecule down and releasing these free thyroxine and T3 hormones. And estrogen inhibits the proteolytic enzyme that releases the hormone. So first it slows down liver function, but then it reaches a point where it will even block the thyroid itself. And this is where women tend to have a high frequency of goiter, thyroid enlargement. They call it Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but most often it's what they used to call colloid goiter, where since estrogen stimulates the stress hormones in the brain, increasing thyroid-stimulating hormone, estrogen causes the pituitary to drive the thyroid harder. Meanwhile, it's blocking the ability of the thyroid gland to secrete it, so it tends to enlarge the thyroid, and then they get diagnosed as having thyroiditis.
Right.
Progesterone.
Keep going. Sorry.
Progesterone happens to activate these proteins that allow the thyroid to secrete. So I advise women who have an enlarged thyroid not to take progesterone until they've taken care of the enlargement of the thyroid, because progesterone will normalize the protein so fast that sometimes they'll go into a slightly hyperthyroid state for a few weeks.